Welcome, welcome, big and small.
Welcome, welcome, short and tall.
Welcome, welcome to
the Vanishing Act! Ta-da!
So my research more generally, what I'm interested in looking at is how does insects solve the various problems they face, and how does that compare to, say, how we might do similar things, both kind of visual problems of, say, navigating or finding a target of interest. On this particular project, I was looking at attention, so broadly how do insects choose between two targets, and I was looking at praying mantises and bumblebees. So with praying mantises, it would be how the praying mantis choose between prey, whether you can bias their attention to one side or the other, for example. And with bumblebees, it would be how they choose between flowers. I think the show, or the idea for the show, came to me mainly because of several other collaborations I've had with Cabaret before. When I first proposed my fellowship to do my research, I thought it would be really nice to include a component of that collaboration of bringing theatre as well into my research in a way.
We did it first, long before the humans were first. We did it first, until you ruined the earth. We did it first.
I really enjoyed working with Cabaret and their approach to developing theatre pieces, and I thought it would be really nice if we were able to develop something together which would take the research out of the lab and into, I guess, the community more generally, but also, I guess, to see what people enjoyed and what they thought was interesting. And I think for me, that's something to take back. You know, what are the things that people find important and which angles of my research I could continue pursuing.
So Cabaret, we're a theatre company, and we work a lot with university researchers and primary schools, and basically bringing cutting-edge research into the classroom to, I suppose, complement the curriculum, to get the young people to practice their speaking and listening, and to get the learning into their bodies.
So the Vanishing Act show itself takes the form of a cabaret, and in the show it's performed by a group of travelling insects who are kind of the last of their types of insects, and they're traveling the world to kind of tell people the stories of their insect lives and what we could do to try and help save the insects. We've known Vivek for quite a few years, and I think the thing that was really interesting about his research is the environmental angle and looking after the animals and the insects and looking after the planet. We work with primary school children, and every year we kind of talk to them about what they're most interested in, and environmental concerns like looking after the planet, looking after animals always comes like as one of their top priorities. And I think insects are just really interesting. I think the artistic potential for different characters from insects is like really exciting as well.
Basically coming into a year 5 classroom with about 30 kids, and I've talked to Vivek beforehand and talked about sort of the area that we want to cover, what kind of insect, whether it's a bee or a praying mantis, and we might teach them like praying mantis movement, how to move like a mantis. And I can come from that from a creative point of view about, you know, physical theatre, and Vivek comes at it from a scientific point of view. And I think that's probably across the board. It's about getting the kids to be creative, and Vivek's there to make sure the science is accurate.
In general, it's important for research to be able to reach people. Too often, I guess, as researchers, we run the risk of just, you know, remaining in our own community, writing our papers for each other, reading our papers and building on that. And especially, you know, if it's publicly funded, there is, I feel, a bit of a responsibility to actually let people actually be able to access this research, to know what's happening.
I think for the kids, the impact is more awareness of environmental issues. I think insect decline is maybe something that is maybe less front of mind when you look at global warming or sea level rise. I mean, they have fun. And I think also when they see their ideas reflected back to them by the actors, we've had loads of feedback saying how satisfying that is for the kids.
I think sometimes there can be a bit of a disconnect between what happens in the university and what goes on in the rest of the city. And I think there's just massive benefits for both parties for bringing those two things together, especially working with young people in schools. It's just like a really amazing opportunity for them. And then I think the researchers get a lot from it as well, kind of having that insight into what matters to young people and kind of the wider community in the city.
I hope we can also get a deeper appreciation of kind of the complexity of what insects are capable of, but also kind of the mechanisms underlying that, and the fact that there can be so many cool different ways of functioning in the world that we are yet to discover. And I'm hoping, you know, that kind of thing can really go out in the world.
Now you see me, now you don't. You think you can find me, but I know you won't. Now you see me, now you don't. Where am I hiding? You'll never know.